Hello and welcome to the first video of your three-part course on how to represent the hospital indemnity plan and other Medicare supplementary products, okay? Before I get into in-depth details on what you're gonna do with the product itself, I do wanna give you a brief history on Medicare so you kind of have an understanding of who this product is gonna be best for. Now, keep in mind, when we're talking specifically about the Secure Advantage, which I have it right here, hospital indemnity plan. This product does go for people ages 50 and above, but mostly you're going to be seeing people that are over the age of 65, okay? So, again, Medicare. What's Medicare? How does it work? Medicare, I'm sure you've had Medicare taken out of your paycheck before, Medicare tax taken out of your paycheck before. So Medicare was first invented by President Lyndon B. Johnson back in 1965. He signed it into effect with the Medicare-Medicaid Act of 1965. Fun piece of trivia, President Harry Truman was the first Medicare beneficiary, according to at least Bill Engvall at Heartland. Hopefully he was right about that. And then it really didn't do too much growing until 2003, whenever it became, they were signed into accords the Medicare Advantage Act, okay? And this kind of did a lot of changing to the whole process for Medicare. Originally, with Medicare, you're only covered for 80% of all of your medical costs once you reach the age of 65 and above, and that's a great amount of coverage. But the only problem with that is there's no maximum out of pocket. So clients and beneficiaries were getting these big hospital bills or doctor bills when something more expensive happened to them. Okay, so that's when they had the Medicare Advantage Act come out in 2003. Now again, how does Medicare work? It goes for two sub portions of the population. First of all, it's a federal government retirement benefit for anyone who spent over 40 quarters working throughout their lifetime. So if you ever have someone who maybe they didn't work, maybe they were a stay-at-home mom and they're married, sometimes they can get Medicare from their husband. But if they didn't, then they would have to have had worked for at least 40 quarters sometime in their life before the age of 65 to qualify for this benefit, okay? And I'm sure you've seen it again. If you've ever paid taxes on anything, you've probably seen the Medicare taxes come out. So there are two subcategories of people who you're usually gonna see on Medicare, and believe it or not, with those of us in the final expense marketplace, this is going to be the majority of the people you do see on a regular basis. That's why this is such a great opportunity for you to expand your income. Okay, so first of all, once you turn 65, you are automatically enrolled into Part A. Most people are also enrolled into Part B. Part A is free. Well, it's not free. You've been paying for it with your 40 quarters of work. And then Part B, you do have $134.50 monthly premium that comes directly out of your Social Security. That recently went up from $104.90. So some of the older folks maybe are only paying $104.90, but most people these days are going to be paying about $134 coming from their Social Security. A lot of times they don't even realize it's coming out because they don't start receiving their Social Security until they are age 65. But that's what they're going to kind of have in place. And so again, Part A and Part B only covers 80% of your medical expenses, and it doesn't cover any prescriptions, any dental, any vision, or any of the other stuff that comes with that. Okay, so sometimes you'll see someone under the age of 65 who also has Medicare, and you're like, what the heck is that, right? Well, if you are fully disabled, not partially disabled, on full disability for 2 years, you are automatically enrolled in Part A and Part B, and then you might have access to some of these programs as well, okay? So again, this is a brief history on what Medicare is and how it affects your clients. If you need to get a full version of this, you can obviously go online and look it up, or you can go to your Social Security office and grab a Medicare and You book, and it really just in-depth goes through everything that there is to do about Medicare. They send one to everybody that's on Medicare every year, so if you want to borrow a client or get one from Social Security office, you can do either one of those two things, okay? That's step one of the process. Now, what does this mean for your client, okay? So again, Medicare originally only covered 80% of what the client needed as far as their medical and doctor expenses. So after 2003, with the Medicare Advantage Act, there have been some different options that your clients will have to cover the additional 20%, okay? So if you remember one thing about this whole video, remember this. Every one of your clients who's on Medicare should have 3 cards, okay? Count them. 3 cards. Every time, they should have 3 cards. So you don't know much about Medicare, but you're trying to explain how it works to your client, but you're gonna simply ask them and says, okay, Miss Jones, you're supposed to have 3 cards for your Medicare, and I'll get into more of this on the pitch, but you got to make sure that they have these 3 cards to make sure that your client's totally covered, okay? You're the insurance agent, you're the professional, you're the one that says that you deal with seniors all day. You need to know this stuff, and you need to make sure that your clients have the 3 cards that they need so they're covered. That's your job. It's your fiduciary responsibility to make sure that they don't end up with these big holes and they don't come up with unexpected expenses, right? That's the same thing when you're doing life insurance. Is they have a big bill and they don't got the money to pay it. Insurance company pays it for them. This is the same thing, except for it's not going to be when they're dead. It's going to be when they're actually still alive and they need the money themselves, okay? So what your job is going to be to do is to verify that your client has all 3 of the cards that they need. Now, obviously not everybody's in the same situation. Some people live in Texas. Some people live in, here in Kentucky with me. Some people live in Missouri. Some people live in California, right? Some people are high income. Some people are low income. So different people have different scenarios, but every time they're supposed to have 3 cards. Okay, so I'm going to explain to you right now what these cards are. First is your Medicare supplement. Now back, and I believe it was in between 1965 and 2003, before they had the Medicare Advantage, what people could do is take out a Medicare supplement insurance policy. Currently, 10 to 20% of the Medicare population carries a Medicare supplement. So this will be a good portion of people that you run into, but mostly people are going to have Medicare Advantage. But it's important that you understand how this works. Also, later in the training program, you'll have a full breakdown of what a Medicare supplement is, how it works, and how you can market those products to your clients. But right now, it's not important that you know how to sell it. What's important is that you know what it is and how it works. And you can know how to verify their 3 cards. Okay, so first, everybody on Medicare is going to have their first card as their Medicare A and B. Obviously, they got to have Medicare A and B. That's what their Medicare is, right? So they're going to have their Medicare A and B card. And again, Medicare A and B only covers 80% of the hospital and doctor expenses that client will incur, okay? So that means that they would be responsible for dental and vision, they would be responsible for prescriptions, and they'd also be responsible for the additional 20% with no max out of pocket. So private insurance companies came up with a product to kind of help them with these other deals, help them with these other expenses. So the second card that they're always going to have in this category, their Medicare supplement category, is going to be their Part D, okay? The way I remember this is D is for drugs, okay? So they're going to have their Part D drug plan, also called a PDP, and that D drug plan is going to cover their prescription drugs. They're going to pay anywhere from, we'll say $15 to probably $36 a month, depending on what market you're in, and the markets again go by, by county, by area, by city. And they're going to be paying another, $15 to $36 for these, and they'll still have co-pays for their drugs, anywhere from 33 cents to $300, depending on what tier the drug is in and all that things of that nature. But again, you don't need to know all that stuff. All you need to know is that they got to have 3 cards, and you got to make sure they have all 3 of these cards. Okay. So if they have their Part A and B card, then they have a PDP or a drug plan. Again, that's often called a PDP for prescription drug plan, or just Part D. Okay. And then the third card they're going to have in this scenario is called a Medigap. It's called a Medigap, or often a Medicare supplement insurance policy. Okay, and this is going to cover the additional 20%. So this is often called the Cadillac of insurances, because people like this one because they don't have any co-pays when they go to the actual doctor. Because the Part A and Part B covers 80%, the Part D covers their drug, and the Medigap covers the additional 20%. And I was homeschooled, but it doesn't take a mathematician to know that 80 plus 20 is 100%, and you're now 100% covered. So people always say, Jason, what's the best plan? I'm like, well, the best plan is having 100% coverage, but not everybody can afford that. These Medigap plans are often anywhere from $140 to, I've seen them up to $350 and even $500 a month, and that's very, very expensive. Again, if you have any experience in the final expense industry, you know these people are a lot of times very broke. They have middle to low income, and not a lot of them are going to be able to afford to spend $134 here, plus we'll just say 25, and then 200 to just kind of get a middle ground here. So that's what's 300. That's $360 a month per person. So God forbid you have a husband and wife, that's $720 a month. That's very, very high. It's a big burden on the monthly income for a client, okay? So a lot of times when people that don't have that high income, they can't afford the Cadillac, they just gotta have a regular car, what they'll do is Medicare Advantage. Now, Medicare Advantage, again, it's only been in place since 2003, but it is the fastest growing portion of the Medicare insurance bracket, okay? More and more people are getting onto Medicare Advantage plans and staying away from Medicare supplement plans because of that big fat premium every month, okay? So with these Medicare Advantage plans, the premium can be anywhere from as low as $0 a month to maybe $72 a month, and they again vary depending on where you are, but a lot of these plans are very, very cheap and a lot more more affordable than all this stuff over here, okay? And this is where you're gonna be really keeping an eye open for these type of plans. So these plans are gonna be HMO, or maybe a PPO, or there's additional ones that you may not see as often, like PFFS, RPPO, LPPO, MSA, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But the main ones you're going to see are your HMOs and your PPOs, okay? And just a short difference between an HMO and a PPO, and I'll try to keep this short. HMO means you are confined to your network, okay? You are locked in your network. As soon as you go outside of your network, you no longer have any type of coverage at all, okay? You pay 100% of the cost. PPO is a preferred provider organization. So that means you have your network of preferred providers. You can go out the network and you're still going to have coverage. You probably pay a higher premium, but you're a higher copay, but you can still go in and out of network. Whereas the HMO, you can only stay within your health maintenance organization. You are strictly bound to that network. Okay, and as you can assume, the HMOs are usually the lower priced ones, and the PPOs usually have a little bit of a higher price. Okay, and again, this is the important part of the video. So if you're paying attention to anything, pay attention to they gotta have 3 cards, and here's where you're going to be living most of your life, with probably anywhere from, well, I would say about 80% of your clients live right here. So this is the most important part if you're trying to make money and try to market these products, okay? So again, they're gonna have how many cards? 3 cards. Thank you. That was very good to you. So first of all, they're going to have their A and their B. If they don't have a Part A and Part B, they can't get in here. Sometimes the client will have an A and Part A without having the Part B. They can't come to the party. This is their ticket to the show, is having Part A and Part B, okay? Then for their second part, their second card is gonna be Part C, which is your Medicare Advantage card. So your HMO, your PPO, your PFFS, your LPPO, your RPPO, your MSA, whatever it may be. But they're gonna have their second card is gonna be their Part C. The third card they're supposed to have is their hospital indemnity card. Now, this is where a lot of previous agents have dropped the ball, and this is where you need to step up to the plate. This is where you need to do your job to make sure that that client is protected the way they're supposed to be, okay? Let me ask you this. If you're paying $0 for a health insurance plan, do you think it really covers everything? Let me give you a hint, no it doesn't, okay? Why would anyone get the zero? Why would anyone take the $360 plan when there's a $0 plan right over here? Well, the reason it is when this plan, you're 100% covered. Okay, you're 100% covered. That means if you go to the doctor, hospital, doesn't matter, you don't have to pay any copays or coinsurance. Here, when you have your HMO and your PPO, this is the same type of insurance you're probably used to having right now, where you have copays and coinsurance. So you need to make sure that you're covered with all these things. So they're gonna cover about around 80% and more. Okay, it's called Medicare Advantage because that's cover everything that Medicare covers and more. So how much more, it depends on where you go, okay? It could be a lot more, it could be only barely a little bit more. But one of the mores that it always covers is your drugs, or not always, but 90% of the times it covers your drugs. So that means you know that the drug is included in there. Sometimes they'll have preventative dental, preventative vision, hearing services and other things like that, and they might have a lower copay. They also have a max out of pocket, which is very important because then the client can't be caught with like a huge bill. But this max out of pocket can be as high as $10,000 for the whole year. And I'm not sure how much money your clients have, but most of mine can't afford $2,000, let alone $10,000 out of pocket. So they have set copays and coinsurance when they're on this plan. They have set copays and set coinsurances when it comes to this plan, okay? And you know, when they go to the regular doctor, it's anywhere from $5, $10, $15. If they go to a specialist, it's anywhere $45 to $60. But if they go to the hospital or if they get any type of cancer, they have very, very, very large copays, okay? And that's why it's so important that you are giving the client what they need to make sure that they're fully covered. So that's a short little breakdown on how that works. Again, just a quick overview. These are the people who get Medicare. Anyone over the age of 65, anyone fully disabled. I guarantee you that's the majority of your clients. Secondly, and probably most importantly, anyone on Medicare should have 3 cards. Your job as a fiduciary responsibility as their insurance agent is to verify that they have what they're supposed to have. You've got to check out their stuff. Make sure they got all 3 cards. You're going to be going through their benefits. You're asking if they have life insurance in place already. You should be asking them what they have for their health insurance. We have the trifold. It's going to be right there in their folder for you, and you're going to be able to verify that. And then finally, once you get their 3 cards, see what 3 cards they have, and if they don't have one of the cards, direct them the right way. All right, guys, stay tuned for more. See you at the top.